y'all kept a girl waiting. Let's try this.
This time, it's my turn!
Shulk! No! It'll kill you! Shulk!
Before this review begins, I'm here to inform you that this review does not cover the future connected story expansion. That'll come in its own mini review. This is just covering the original base story. With that said, on with the show. In an industry dictated by sales, microtransactions, and selling to the lowest common denominator, it's rare to see a series owned by a big company that was completely in debt to the fans, even if they weren't actually fans at the point. That is what we and JRPG fans did back in 2011 with Operation Rainfall, a fan-led campaign that took forums by storm, a campaign that was demanding the Western localization of 3 games: The Last Story, Pandora's Tower, and, of course, Xenoblade Chronicles. 3 JRPGs all on the Wii, 3 JRPGs published by the Big N themselves. Of course, they all made their way to Western shores, with varying degrees of Nintendo's help. The one Nintendo took it upon themselves to publish in all regions, however, was the biggest one of them all: Xenoblade Chronicles, developed by X Square and then X Namco Monolith Soft. Xenoblade Chronicles promised to be the biggest game on Wii. Hell, it looked to be one of the biggest JRPGs of that particular generation. Of course, with the knowledge of there being more than one Xenoblade, it had to have been some kind of success. Instead of reviewing the original Wii release, though I may do that at some point, we're going to be tackling the Switch remaster. Let's see if we're really feeling it and take the Monado in hand, eh? If there is anything to know about the games developed by Monolith Soft that start with Xeno, it's that they're unconventional in their plots and settings. That fact best fits Xenoblade Chronicles, as it's as unconventional as JRPGs get. Set in a world that looks to be just a giant ocean, 2 titans, the organic Bionis and the inorganic Mechonis, battled to the death. Their battle was too effective, and the 2 of them scored a double KO. This, shockingly enough, is our world. The deceased bodies of 2 titans. Not unnerving at all. Our story follows Shulk, a nerdy Homs, basically humans living on the corpse of the Bionis, that is dedicated to discovering the secrets of a special sword, the Monado. This blade can only be wielded by select people, and it is the only thing truly capable of defeating the enemies of all that live on the Bionis, the Mechons. The Mechons suddenly attack Shulk's home of Colony 9 after years of apparent peace, and in a quest for vengeance and peace both, with Monado in hand, he and his best friend Rhine set out to find a way to put an end to the threat of the Mechons once and for all. It starts off fairly simple and fairly reminiscent of PlayStation 1 and 2 JRPGs, but derails fairly quickly into something pretty unique. Shulk's story is an engaging one full of intrigue, drama, plenty of emotion, and its fair share of twists, all helped by visions of the future that Shulk experiences, hinting at where the story is heading next. The story is a step above most game tales, and the characters are all as endearing as they come. This is one of those stories that you'll be playing more and more just to see what happens next, and the hint of PlayStation era nostalgia definitely doesn't hurt things at all. There is a reason Shulk made it into Smash. Xenoblade Chronicles back on Wii was a gigantic leap forward for JRPGs, as the leap to HD kinda hurt them bad. They were either linear and super constructed, derivative of what came before, or strange, low-budget experimental titles, and all failed to live up to the monumental titles that came before. Xenoblade Chronicles was a step out of this rut and into a bright new future for JRPGs. Now, let's get this out of the way early. Xenoblade Chronicles doesn't play entirely uniquely. It doesn't even fully play uniquely for single-player JRPGs, as it is extremely close in playstyle to an MMO. You control a party of 3, directly taking control of the party leader, and roam about a fairly large, mostly open world as you complete side quests, collect items, and make your way towards a story goal. On the field, your interactions are limited to running, jumping, climbing on vines, and fighting enemies, but the world itself is a thing that makes it really stand out. The world is extremely big, especially for the time and original platform. The poor Wii never experienced anything quite like it. The world is separated by load screens, but only when moving from large zone to large zone, and the zones are extremely big and excellently laid out. It's not just a flat, open field to run around in, unlike this game's closest counterpart, Final Fantasy XII's world. No, this world is intricately laid out, both horizontally and vertically, and you'll never quite be sure what sights you'll experience next. The game keeps surprising you throughout with its vistas and locations, and the combat itself never fails to keep you engaged. On the topic of combat, it's quite standout on its own, functioning quite like an MMO as mentioned before. Each character will auto-attack an enemy if engaged in combat, and each character has a single hotbar that holds their skills, known as arts. How many arts you can use at once are limited, so you need to decide which arts suit your needs best, and each character has different things they are good at. Once an art is used, it goes on cooldown before it can be used again, so timing your art uses so you don't leave yourself without any is important. Certain arts will also combo with other ones, causing a status effect or debuff, and may even combo status effects together, so building your team around each other can mean success or failure, especially since healing in battle is a luxury and reviving teammates costs limited resources. It's an engaging, if a little overwhelming, combat system, and the positional attacks just add to it. Certain attacks will either do more damage or have varying effects if you hit the positional as well. For example, Shulk's now famous backslash will do more damage if you hit from behind. Thankfully, the game will tell you when these positions are available, a gigantic improvement added in the Definitive Edition. Also helping with combat are Shulk's visions. Now and then, if a fight goes on for a decent amount of time, Shulk will have a vision of an attack. It's then up to you to stop it. It can be as simple as using one of Shulk's Monado abilities, but you could also knock them down with a combo of break and then topple. Also, when the team gauge used for reviving folk is full, you can initiate a chain attack that lets you choose arts to combo into each other for potentially massive damage. It's an incredibly fun, challenging, and strategic combat system, and with plenty of characters to play as, you'll have a lot of experimenting to do. Adding on to combat is a gem system, basically just stat buffs you place onto your gear. Gear and gems can be bought, found, or made, and certain tiers of gear have slots for gems. To be at your best, you'll want to build your gem setup to suit the character they are equipped with, and, thankfully, you can swap the gems to new gear when you go to equip it, as long as you remember to. To be honest, I sorta started ignoring this part of the game, as you'll be plenty strong to beat the main story as long as you do enough of the many side quests. Arts can also be upgraded using points earned from battle and discovering landmarks on the map, which act as a fast travel, and the game keeps you involved by having timed event presses of the B button to buff the party. There is a lot going on here. At the end of the day, the basic gameplay is fun and engaging, even if it isn't doing anything extraordinarily new. Let's talk a bit about the side quests and one other unique thing the game has, the affinity chart. Side quests come in all shapes and sizes and usually boil down to go here, kill/collect this, but they do offer an excuse to explore on top of helping the party grow. However, those just tend to be the quests for the unnamed NPCs. The ones given to you by named NPCs add a bit of story to the location and affect the affinity board. Stronger affinity with whichever community you come across can actually help in gameplay by growing the skill tree for each character, which is filled out via some more points earned during the gameplay. The affinity board also affects your party members, as when their affinity for each other grows, they gain the ability to use skills from each other's skill trees. It's all incredibly in-depth, but also not really that confusing. Overall, the side quests and affinity board give some legs to an already meaty JRPG, even if the legs may be a bit tedious at times. There's no denying it, Xenoblade Chronicles is beautiful. It was a decent looking game on Wii, mainly environments as those character models. Ugh. But here on Switch, it's goddamn gorgeous. When not counting the pixels, that is. This is definitely swinging above its weight class, as this game would look good on any platform. Once again showing that art direction trumps visual prowess most of the time. The environments are gorgeous, varied, and often inventive, what with being on the corpse of two titans and all that, and the character models look great. This is probably one of the best looking JRPGs out there. Well, that isn't Final Fantasy at least, and the world design definitely backs it up in that claim. On the audio side of things, the music is fantastic, and it brought back hope for video game soundtracks at a time where they were becoming more and more generic. The battle themes will get you hyped up, and the zone themes will get you in the mood to explore. The voice work is also top notch, with this being a little different than usual using English actors instead of the typical American. You can still listen to it in Japanese, of course, and whichever you pick, you won't go wrong. Both tracks are excellent. Though in Japanese, you'll miss out on some prime meme material. There isn't really anything else like Xenoblade other than its sequels. There are always beautiful sights and sounds to experience around every corner. Of course, all games have their own flaws, even monumental ones such as this. First up, the combat system, as mentioned, can be a little overwhelming. Even having completed the game, I can't tell you what some buffs, debuffs, and skills actually did, or what the icons on the party list actually mean. Still, it's easy enough to just play through, even on the new expert mode, as you can just dump levels in your characters as needed, but it can be confusing to someone who wants the best out of the system. Other than that, the controls are a little rigid and floaty, and the visuals are soft, to put it lightly. The game can get damn blurry at times with the dynamic resolution, and it makes you beg for a Switch Pro of some sort to, well, sort it out. Though my biggest issue is that the party is not really balanced. There are characters flat out better than others, and using certain ones tanks your damage output. Still, these problems don't actually hold the game back, like, at all really. When it's all said and done, Xenoblade Chronicles is a phenomenal game. Its beautiful visuals, engaging story, and involved combat elevate what could have been your run-of-the-mill nostalgic 90s style JRPG into the growing franchise Nintendo has under its belt today. The team over at Monolith Soft put their hearts into this game, and it shows in every corner. The varied art direction, the lovable characters, and the different combat styles go a long way towards making something that will stand the test of time. And it's something I can't even fully visually impart to you in this video, as I want to keep as much as I can of this beautiful game unspoiled. The visual flaws and the party balance issues don't hinder this behemoth at all. Shulk got a vision of a 10 out of 10 coming his way. It's not something he's going to try to prevent. He'll take it. Shulk and his crew have earned it, as has anyone who supported Operation Rainfall in the original Wii release. This amazing franchise is all thanks to us being annoying.